do my hair, baby. Chrisean. Family time on New Year's. Say hola. 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 Chrisean. What's up, yo? Oh, you doing my hair? Oh, thank you for the kisses, Papa. That was so nice.
I'll put the boot up.
What you say?
I'll put the boot.
He wants to put his boots on.
He said he want a what?
He wants to put his rain boots on.
Oh, it's rain boots. You want your rain boots? Oh, you understand.
Tell me.
Period. W mama.
You're not going to come with me, Chrisean?
Yeah.
Chrisean Rock. You're not going to come with me?
Holidays are supposed to be peaceful, matching pajamas, fake smiles, and at least one argument everyone pretends didn't happen. But this holiday season, absolute mayhem. Because the moment it came out that Chrisean, Rock, and Baby Jr. were spending the holidays around Leangello ball, the internet didn't sip cocoa. It choked out, and then came the reaction nobody was surprised by, but everyone was waiting for. Karlissa Saffold snapped. Not a quiet reaction, not a subtle post. A full, unapologetic, holiday season meltdown that turned family drama into public spectacle faster than you can say why is this on Instagram. This wasn't just about where someone spent Christmas. This felt like territory being crossed, lines being blurred, and a narrative nobody agreed on suddenly going nuclear. Fans froze, comment sections ignited. And what should have been a quiet family moment turned into a reality TV-level showdown that made the Kardashians look like they were playing charades. The holidays have a funny way of exposing everything people pretend doesn't exist. Smiles get tighter, patience gets thinner, and one unexpected guest can turn a peaceful gathering into a full-blown disaster. That's exactly what happened when word got out that Chrisean, Rock, and Baby Jr. were spending the holidays in the same orbit as Leangello ball. What should have been a quiet, low-key moment instantly became a public crisis, with commentary flying faster than wrapping paper on Christmas morning. At first, it didn't look explosive, just holiday vibes, familiar faces, kids involved. But the internet doesn't need fireworks to sense tension. The second people realized who was present, the tone shifted. Suddenly, this wasn't about Christmas cheer. It was about symbolism, about proximity, about who gets access during the most emotionally loaded time of the year. And then came the reaction everyone predicted but still wasn't ready for. Karlissa Saffold snapped. Not in a subtle, "I'm disappointed but I'll handle this privately" way. She reacted publicly, emotionally, and unapologetically, like someone who felt blindsided in real time. The kind of reaction that doesn't ask for understanding. It demands to be heard. And once Karlissa spoke, the situation officially crossed from family tension into internet spectacle. Her response carried more weight than a random opinion because of who she is in this story. She isn't a distant observer. She's a grandmother. She's been vocal before. She's made it clear she doesn't like feeling sidelined, especially when it comes to Junior. So when she reacted, people didn't hear noise. They heard frustration. That had been sitting there long before the holidays. The internet immediately tried to simplify it, because that's what it does best. Some said she was overreacting. Others said she was protecting her family. But simplification didn't fit this situation, because this wasn't just about Leangello showing up. It was about what his presence represented. New energy, new influence, a new dynamic entering a space that was already fragile. Karlissa's reaction suggested she felt something had crossed a line. Not legally, not formally, emotionally. Holidays aren't just dates on a calendar. They're symbolic. Who you spend them with sends messages whether you intend to or not. And Karlissa seemed to read that message loud and clear. Chrisean, on the other hand, didn't immediately respond. No dramatic clapback, no long explanation. Just silence while the internet screamed on her behalf and against her at the same time. And silence online is never neutral. It becomes a canvas where everyone paints their own narrative. Supporters of Chrisean argued that she has every right to choose where she and her child spend the holidays, that peace matters. That stability matters. That just because someone reacts loudly doesn't mean they're right. To them, Karlissa's response felt like control disguised as concern. Supporters of Karlissa saw it differently. They saw a grandmother feeling cut out of a moment that matters. They saw family structure shifting without conversation. They saw boundaries being ignored in favor of optics and convenience. And when kids are involved, people stop arguing. Logic and start arguing morals. LiAngelo Ball's presence made everything stranger. This wasn't another reality TV personality. This was someone from a completely different public lane suddenly dropped into a family conflict that already had too many cameras. The contrast alone made the situation feel surreal. People joked this crossover felt like a glitch in the Matrix. Basketball world meets reality chaos during the holidays. Others said it felt like a reality show storyline that nobody approved. But everyone was forced to watch anyway. Memes flooded timelines because humor is how people deal with discomfort you don't want to sit with. But beneath the jokes was tension that didn't feel funny. Karlissa's words weren't playful. They weren't vague. They carried hurt, frustration, and a sense of being excluded. And exclusion is a powerful trigger, especially in families that already struggle with communication. The situation quickly stopped being about Leangello as a person and became about what he represented. A new chapter, a shift in control, a visible sign that Chrisean's life is moving in directions Karlissa doesn't feel included in. Whether intentional or not, that perception fueled everything that followed. Fans began digging into timelines. Who knew what and when? Whether this was planned, whether Karlissa had been informed, whether Chrisean should have anticipated the reaction. Questions multiplied faster than answers. Which is exactly how internet chaos thrives. What made this moment explode was history. This wasn't a clean slate. There was already tension, already resentment, already unresolved issues. The holidays didn't create the conflict. They exposed it under bright lights with an audience watching. Karlissa's reaction reframed the entire situation. What could have been dismissed as coincidence suddenly looked like a deliberate choice with emotional consequences. And once something looks deliberate online, people stop offering grace. By the end of the first wave, this wasn't just holiday drama. It was a power struggle over access, influence, and emotional territory, and nobody involved seemed willing to back down quietly. Once Karlissa's reaction hit the timeline, the situation stopped being personal. It became public property. The internet didn't just react. It reorganized itself around the drama like this was a national holiday nobody had off work for. Comment sections filled up faster than group chats on Christmas morning. And suddenly everyone had an opinion about family boundaries they don't even respect in their own lives. The first thing to happen was sides forming instantly, not thoughtfully, not carefully. Immediately, people didn't ask what conversations happened privately. They assumed none did, and assumptions online move faster than facts ever could. Supporters of Karlissa's scaffold framed her reaction as justified, saying any grandmother would feel some type of way seeing her grandchild spending holidays around a new man without her involvement. In their eyes, this wasn't drama. It was disrespect wrapped in tinsel. On the other side, defenders of Chrisean rock came in swinging. They argued that peace matters more than tradition. That family doesn't automatically mean healthy, and that just because someone reacts loudly doesn't make them right. To them, Karlissa's response felt controlling, not caring, and the internet quickly turned that argument into a rallying cry. The debate escalated fast because kids were involved. Once children enter the conversation, logic exits the room. People stop discussing context and start arguing morals. Every comment turned into a courtroom closing statement, even though nobody had all the facts and nobody waited to get them. Then came the memes. Because nothing fuels internet chaos like turning discomfort into punchlines, people joked about holiday crossovers nobody asked for. Others compared the situation to a reality show Christmas special gone wrong. Basketball fans were confused. Reality TV fans were entertained, and everyone else was just stressed watching it unfold. The presence of Leangello Ball added a surreal layer to everything. He barely said anything. But his silence didn't matter. His name alone was enough to keep the story trending. People speculated endlessly about his role, his intentions, and whether he even realized he'd walked straight into a family war zone during the holidays. Some viewers argued Leangello was being unfairly dragged into drama he didn't create. Others said once you step into a situation like this publicly, you're automatically part of the storyline. Either way, his involvement kept the story from cooling down. Because now it wasn't just reality TV chaos, it was crossover chaos. The arguments spread, old clips resurfaced, previous family conflicts were replayed, past statements were dragged back into the spotlight like receipts nobody asked for but everyone used anyway. The internet loves context, even when it only uses it selectively. Karlissa's reaction was dissected frame by frame. People analyzed her tone, her wording, her facial expressions. Some said she was hurt, others said she was manipulative. Some claimed she was protecting family values, while others argued she was trying to maintain control over a narrative that was slipping away from her. Chrisean's continued silence only made things louder. Silence online is never interpreted as calm. It's seen as avoidance, strategy, or guilt depending on who's watching. Her supporters said she was choosing peace. Her critics said she was suddenly this wasn't about Chrisean or Karlissa anymore. It was about estranged parents, controlling relatives, and holiday dinners that ended in tears. The comment sections turned into therapy sessions nobody built for. That emotional projection is what kept the story alive. Once people see themselves in a situation, they stop treating it like gossip and start treating it like a personal mission. That's when rational discussion disappears completely. Media pages picked up the story cautiously, framing it as reaction and backlash instead of fact. That alone told viewers everything. When coverage focuses on response rather than substance, it means editors know they're standing near emotional landmines. The most chaotic part was how fast the narrative hardened. Within hours, people weren't saying maybe, they were saying this is exactly what's happening. Once belief replaces curiosity, the internet doesn't backtrack, it doubles down. By the end of this phase, the holiday drama had officially transformed into a power struggle narrative. Who gets access? Who gets influence? Who feels excluded? And who reacts the loudest when they lose control of a moment that matters emotionally? This wasn't cooling down, it was heating up. Because once family drama mixes with public platforms and unresolved history, the fallout is never immediate. By the time the internet found a new distraction, the real impact of this holiday blowup had already locked itself in place. That's the trick with family drama played out online. The noise fades, but the emotional residue sticks around like glitter you can't vacuum out of the carpet. People stop arguing, but they don't stop remembering. For Karlissa Saffold, the aftermath wasn't about winning or losing the argument. It was about exposure. Her reaction cemented her role as the loudest voice in the room, the one who says what others might think but wouldn't dare post. Supporters praised her for standing her ground and speaking up for her grandchild. Critics accused her of overstepping, escalating, and making private family issues impossible to resolve quietly. And here's the uncomfortable truth: both sides had a point. Karlissa didn't invent the tension, she revealed it. But once something is revealed publicly, it stops being controllable. Every future move she makes now gets filtered through this moment. Passion reads as pressure, concern reads as control. Even silence will be interpreted as strategy. For Chrisean Rock, the fallout landed differently, but just as heavy. She didn't say much, but she didn't need to. The situation framed her as the decision maker, the person whose choices triggered the entire chain reaction. Supporters applauded her for choosing peace, stability, and new environments. Critics said she ignored family dynamics and knew exactly what reaction this would cause. What changed was perception. This wasn't just Chrisean reacting to chaos anymore. This was Chrisean being seen as someone actively moving her life forward, even if it meant leaving other people uncomfortable behind, and that kind of shift always creates enemies, especially when the people left behind still have a microphone. The presence of Leangello Ball continued to loom over the situation even as the noise died down. He didn't post explanations, he didn't address the drama, but his name stayed attached to the moment like a footnote that refuses to disappear, fair or not. His involvement became symbolic of new energy entering an already fractured family dynamic. Some fans defended him, saying he was unfairly dragged into a mess he didn't create. Others argued that once you show up during holidays with kids involved, symbolism does the talking for you. Either way, his quiet presence added to the sense that things were changing whether anyone was ready or not. The biggest consequence wasn't cancellation or public apologies, it was complication. Nothing about this situation is simple anymore. Holidays won't be neutral, appearances won't be casual. Every future photo, post, or family moment will be examined for hidden meaning. Behind the scenes, relationships likely shifted in ways the internet will never fully see. Trust doesn't shatter loudly in families like this. It erodes, conversations become guarded, invitations become selective. Decisions get made without group consensus because consensus feels impossible. What made this fallout particularly uncomfortable was how relatable it felt. People stopped talking about celebrities and started talking about their own families, about controlling relatives, about boundaries ignored, about holidays ruined by unresolved tension. That projection gave the story legs long after the names stopped trending. Media coverage cooled, but context remained. Future headlines won't need full explanations anymore. Readers already know the story, and once context exists, it follows everyone involved like a shadow. The internet eventually moved on, because it always does. Another scandal took center stage. Another family imploded publicly, but this moment didn't vanish. It settled into memory, the kind that resurfaces casually when someone says, "Remember when?" And those moments matter, because they shape how audiences interpret everything that comes next. Karlissa will always be seen as the one who reacts loudly when she feels excluded. Chrisean will always be seen as the one who chooses her own path even when it causes backlash. Leangello will always be remembered as the unexpected crossover that turned a holiday into a headline. Nobody walked away clean. Nobody got full validation. And nobody got closure. Because this wasn't really about Christmas. It wasn't even about LiAngelo. It was about control, access, and who gets a seat at the table when a family is already broken into pieces. And once those questions are asked publicly, they don't get answered privately. If you're still here, let's stop pretending this was just holiday fluff. You didn't watch this for matching pajamas and Christmas cheer. You stayed because this situation felt uncomfortable, messy, and way too familiar. If at any point you said, "Yeah, this is about to get worse, trust me," you weren't wrong. So go ahead and smash that like button like it personally ruined your family group chat. Because the algorithm only respects commitment and chaos. And don't sit there silently, judging like you're above it. Drop your take in the comments. Was Karlissa out of line? Or was she saying what everyone else was too scared to say? Was Chrisean choosing peace or choosing distance? And where does Leangello really fit into all of this? Say it with your chest. If this is your first time here, understand this clearly. Family drama never stays private on this channel. We don't wait for polite statements, fake apologies, or let's clear the air videos that explain nothing. We break down the mess while it's still raw, still emotional, and still making people uncomfortable. If that's your kind of content, hit that subscribe button right now before the next situation explodes without warning. Turn on notifications too. Because the moment someone posts a suspicious holiday photo, deletes a caption, or goes quiet when they shouldn't, we're already connecting dots. Other channels recap drama. We expose patterns. Remember, today's holiday tension becomes tomorrow's. This all makes sense now. And when the next chapter drops, because in families like this, it always does, you'll want to be right here instead of catching up in the comments. This is Fame Flaws, where celebrity families don't heal quietly, they crack in public.